All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something big, how AI is just completely tearing up the old playbook for enterprise risk and security. It's not just about defense anymore, it's about turning security into a genuine advantage.
So let's get right into it with this quote. This really hits the nail on the head. You know those old security plans? The ones that made us all feel so safe a decade ago? Well, they're becoming seriously obsolete. And this is exactly why frameworks like the NIST AI Risk Management Framework are so critical now. They force us to map out and manage these complex, interconnected risks. So, here's how we're going to break it all down today. First, we'll talk about why the old playbook is just broken. Then, we'll look at AI's role as both the new threat and the new shield. After that, we'll shift gears to talk about building trust, not just managing risk. We'll see how leadership has to change, and finally, we'll get into the numbers, how to actually calculate the ROI on all of this.
Okay, Section 1. Let's start with a truth that might be a little tough to hear. The way we've been managing risk for the past decade, it's just not cut out for the threats we're facing today. The game has totally changed, but a lot of folks are still trying to run the same old plays.
So check this out. This is pretty much a modern-day nightmare for any business. Think about it. A single hiccup in a shared system, like a critical API from a third-party vendor, goes down. Suddenly, there's this massive ripple effect, a cascading failure that takes down major services. And your old-school disaster recovery plan, the one with the backup data centers, it's completely useless.
And this, right here, this is the heart of the problem. It's a total mismatch. For years, we've been relying on these static, once-a-year risk assessments. You know the drill. Manual interviews, filling out spreadsheets, but we're trying to fight threats that are dynamic, nonstop, and fully automated. It's why frameworks like the NIST AI RMF are a game changer. They push us away from that static checklist and into a continuous cycle of governing, mapping, measuring, and managing risk. Anything else is like trying to catch a bullet with a butterfly net. It's just not going to work. All right, on to Section 2. This leads us straight to AI itself, which is this incredible double-edged sword. It's a powerful new weapon for the bad guys, but it's also our most essential new shield. It's making the problem worse, and it's the only way we can possibly solve it at scale.
So on the one hand, you've got attackers using AI to create these unbelievably sophisticated attacks. We're talking about deep-fake voice scams that can trick a seasoned finance employee into wiring away a fortune. Attackers are poisoning the very data our AI models learn from, or using clever tricks like prompt injection to make an AI spill sensitive secrets. The threat isn't just faster, it's smarter.
But here's the flip side. AI also gives us these incredible defensive powers. We can now use predictive models to actually see disruptions coming before they hit. We can spot tiny anomalies in real time across billions of data points, something a human team could never do. And we can automate our response to contain a threat in seconds, not hours or days. We're finally moving from just reacting to breaches to actually getting ahead of them.
Okay, Section 3. And this brings us to a really crucial point. Simply, managing these new risks, that's not going to cut it. We need a fundamental change in our entire mindset, moving away from a defensive crouch and into a proactive stance of building trust. So this is the big question, right? The one every leader really needs to ask themselves. Are you just managing risk, which is basically a check-the-box exercise? Or are you actively building trust, creating this durable, continuous foundation of trust with everyone you work with, your employees, your customers, and your partners?
I really love this analogy from Deloitte because it just makes the difference crystal clear. Risk management is like a periodic car inspection. That's the old way. But new regulations like the EU AI Act, they're demanding something different. They want the reliable mechanic approach, a continuous, transparent relationship that's built on proving you're competent and have good intentions. It's about showing that you're trustworthy, not just showing that you filled out a form.
And look, the data backs this up. This isn't just some feel-good theory. Deloitte actually found that companies that focus on building trust are crushing those that only focus on managing risk. The trust builders are 18% more likely to hit all their goals. Meanwhile, the risk-ready folks, they're actually 34% less likely than the average. The bottom line is, trust drives real value.
Now, this massive shift in mindset, it demands a new kind of leader. And that brings us to Section 4, the rise of the CISO 2.0. The whole job of the Chief Information Security Officer is changing right in front of us.
Yeah, the CISO role has really gone through an evolution. It started off with the CISO as a technical gatekeeper.
basically the Department of No. Then they became more of a policy enforcer, then a strategic risk advisor. But today, the most effective CISOs are what you'd call cultural catalysts. They're not asking if we can use a new technology. They're asking, okay, how do we do this safely, ethically, and in a way that we can scale across the entire business?
And leaders like Dr. Thomas Leon at MedCentry are a perfect example of this. He's a former physician who became a CISO. And when his company was building a new AI tool, he was in there from day one, embedding security and ethics right into the design. He worked with doctors and developers to build trust into the system from the ground up. He proved that empathy and security aren't just compatible, they're essential.
All right, last section. Let's talk about the money, the ROI. Because this new trust-based approach, it isn't just about feeling more secure. It delivers a real, measurable return on investment that you can actually take to your CFO and your board.
Okay, first up, let's just look at the cost of getting it wrong. $4.45 million. According to IBM, that's the average cost of a single data breach. That is the number you are fighting against. It's the multi-million-dollar landmine you're trying to avoid.
Okay, so now think about the upside. A Forrester analysis found that using a modern, AI-driven security approach can slash the risk and cost of a breach by up to a jaw-dropping 70%. That is a massive, massive reduction in your company's financial exposure.
And that, of course, translates directly to your bottom line. The very same study reported an ROI of 240% over 3 years. Think about that. For every single dollar you invest in this kind of strategic approach, you get almost $2.50 back in return.
So what does all this mean? The crucial takeaway is this. We finally have the hard data to make a powerful business case. Investing in trust and security isn't just a cost center anymore. It's not just a defensive move. It's a strategic engine for real business value, for resilience, and for growth.
So, after all that, this whole explainer really boils down to one final question for you and your organization to think about. In this new era of AI, security isn't just about preventing bad things from happening. It's about creating a powerful competitive advantage through trust. The only question left is, how will you answer?